Tonight on Mr. Whisper's Official, we examine 3 forest disappearances where GPS data recorded movements that defy physics, logic, and conventional survival science. What would you believe if a hiker's tracking device showed them traveling 50 miles across mountains in less than a second? This investigation follows digital breadcrumbs that suggest displacement rather than simple misdirection. Our analysis is led by field investigator Ethan Cole, data analyst Mara Iqbal, and search coordinator Daniel Reeves. Case 1 begins in the summer of 2025 with solo hiker Liam Harper entering a dense section of national forest. Liam carried a modern smartwatch equipped with satellite-linked emergency telemetry and automatic distress signaling. At 3:14 p.m., his coordinates were stable along a marked trail near Granite Pass. 4 seconds later, the data log recorded him 40 miles northwest across an impassable mountain ridge. The timestamp showed a displacement duration of 0.4 seconds. Ethan initially suspected corrupted satellite handshake or atmospheric signal refraction. Mara ran diagnostics against solar flare activity, ionospheric distortion, and known satellite drift anomalies. None could produce a 200,000 mile/hour lateral velocity spike. Even corrupted data typically fragments rather than forming a precise secondary coordinate cluster. Liam's signal did not fragment. It teleported cleanly to a fixed second location. Then it snapped back to the original trail coordinates 6 milliseconds later. Daniel confirmed search teams physically inspected both locations. No footprints existed at the secondary coordinate point. The terrain there was sheer granite, with no accessible landing zone. Minutes later, Liam's tracker began strobing between both points repeatedly. At 3:22 p.m., the signal vanished completely. No remains, no equipment, and no additional digital handshake were ever recovered. Ethan labeled the incident a dead zone telemetry event. Case 2 unfolded in early 2026, involving experienced tracker Sofia Mendez. Sofia was mapping elk migration routes in a remote volcanic basin. Her GPS device began flickering across 3 mountain peaks simultaneously. Mara reconstructed the telemetry logs frame by frame. The device registered concurrent presence at elevations differing by over 3,000 vertical feet. Hardware inspection later showed no firmware corruption or antenna damage. Daniel's rescue grid teams were dispatched to all 3 coordinate clusters. Each site showed no disturbance in snowpack or soil. Ethan compared the anomaly pattern to known multipath signal reflections. Multipath errors distort within meters, not across entire mountain systems. Sofia's signal repeated triangular jumps between peaks for 12 continuous minutes. Then the pattern collapsed into a single coordinate midair. That coordinate hovered approximately 30 feet above a ravine floor. Seconds later, the signal blinked out permanently. No body was found despite aerial and ground sweeps. The third case involved 3 backpackers entering dense pine terrain in late autumn 2026. Their shared GPS breadcrumb trail appeared normal for the first 6 miles. At 5:41 p.m., their route traced directly through a granite cliff face. The telemetry line did not curve or deviate around the obstruction. It passed through solid rock, according to real-time mapping overlays. Mara verified that topographic databases matched physical survey records. The cliff had no cave system or known hollow interior, yet the digital track suggested uninterrupted forward movement. Ethan replayed the data in simulation software. The velocity remained consistent with walking pace. There was no acceleration spike or signal dropout during the rock passage. Daniel coordinated drone scans along the cliff wall. No thermal signatures or fractures were identified. After crossing the mapped cliff interior, the breadcrumb trail continued normally for 300 yards. Then, all three signals spiked vertically. The altitude log showed a rapid ascent exceeding 30,000 feet in under 1 second. Atmospheric pressure data from their devices did not correspond to that altitude change. Seconds later, the signals disappeared simultaneously. Ethan described the phenomenon as a localized spatial distortion rather than navigational error. Mara cross-referenced historical disappearances in the same forest sector. Several prodigital cases described hikers walking into empty air or vanishing near identical coordinates. Daniel reviewed rescue radio logs describing compasses spinning unpredictably in that area. Geological surveys showed minor magnetic irregularities, but nothing extreme enough to explain displacement. Ethan began theorizing about non-Euclidean spatial pockets within dense wilderness corridors. Mara remained cautious, emphasizing the limits of current geospatial modeling, yet all three cases shared identical telemetry spike characteristics. Each spike involved clean coordinate transitions rather than corrupted data scatter. Each occurred in heavily forested terrain with limited satellite triangulation angles. Daniel noted that signal geometry suggested intentional redirection rather than random interference. In all cases, wildlife tracking collars nearby reported brief signal latency at the same time. However, none showed displacement spikes of similar magnitude. The anomaly appeared selective. Ethan questioned whether certain human-worn devices amplified distortions under unknown conditions. Mara proposed that deep canyon geometries may create temporary signal lensing effects. Yet even theoretical lensing cannot generate instantaneous lateral jumps across dozens of miles. The final verified telemetry event came from Liam's archived device cloud backup. Microseconds before vanishing, his accelerometer registered no fall or rapid motion. His heart rate spiked sharply as if reacting to sudden visual shock. Then biometric data flatlined without gradual decline. Daniel emphasized that no predator signs or environmental hazards were found at the site. There were no avalanche risks, no sinkholes, and no river surges. Ethan returned personally to Granite Pass 1 year later. He placed 3 calibrated GPS units along the original trail segment. For 6 hours, readings remained stable. At precisely 3:14 p.m., one unit flickered 10 feet off the trail. It corrected instantly, without additional deviation. The other 2 units remained unaffected. Mara concluded that anomaly windows may be time-sensitive and highly localized. Daniel advised caution in declaring unknown physics without reproducible modeling. Still, the coincidence of time stamps mirrored Liam's disappearance exactly. These forests do not roar or chase. They misalign quietly. Digital breadcrumbs suggest not loss, but displacement. The wilderness may conceal pockets where mapping systems collapse. Or perhaps our instruments briefly expose what terrain truly hides. The question remains whether these were glitches, distortions, or something adaptive. What force could bend satellite triangulation without leaving terrestrial evidence? And why do these telemetry shadows cluster in the same coordinates repeatedly? If GPS fails in predictable silence, How do we define safe navigation? Technology extends our reach, but it also reveals its own blind spots. These three cases remain officially unresolved. Yet their data logs continue challenging established geophysical assumptions. So when your device says you are here, can you be certain you truly are? This has been Mr. Whisper's Officials. Subscribe for deeper investigations into the unexplained. And stay aware when the map no longer matches the ground beneath you.